think Hong Kong, the quality of Hong Kong people is deliberately underestimated by certain people in Hong Kong who don't wish to see progress being made on universal suffrage. So there's all this scaremongering about what one man, one vote may result in. Either that we will be electing somebody who can't work with central government, or we will be foisting our values upon central government, or there will be more demands for welfareism and free lunches and whatnot. There is no evidence for this whatsoever. In fact, time and again, particularly during times of economic downturn and hardship, Hong Kong people have demonstrated they want to rely on their own resources. They don't want, as a rule, to rely on government handouts. There has been no demand to replace our capitalist system with a socialism welfare state system. So why don't we trust the people of Hong Kong? Of course, I can't tomorrow stand up to you and say, here is the evidence. But you have to judge Hong Kong people by how Hong Kong people have behaved in the past few decades, in times of plenty, but also equally in times of difficulty. I think we are a sophisticated, educated, practical, and pragmatic community. And I think we should be trusted with electing our own chief executive and members of the legislature.
Continue with my second question is, how do you balance your time between your family life and the politic life? And the third and the last is, your birthday is approaching, so how will you celebrate it, and any special celebration? Thank you.
Balancing, one's the different demands on one's time, I think is never an easy one, whether you are in politics, whether you are in business. And it's a question, I think, of deciding what your priorities in life are, what matters to you in life. It's learning how to manage your time. If I look at the 39 years of my public service, I think one thing I have to accept is that frequently you cannot demand the best of all worlds. In other words, if you are wearing 3 hats, as most women do, and the 3 hats are what? You have a career, you are somebody's wife, and you are somebody's mother. And each role has different requirements. So you learn that things are not always ideal. And at different stages in your life, sometimes your work comes first, sometimes your family comes first. And you learn to try and strike a balance. But I've always been very clear in my own mind that what matters to me most in life is my family. I can't say that I have given, for example, bringing up my children, that I have given them 100% of my time. Sometimes I just wasn't able to. But if I look at the way my children has turned out, I think they've turned out to be good, decent people. They have a set of values. I haven't encouraged them, to just spend and squander. They don't have an interest in buying, name brands or labels, but they're good, decent people in that they treat people well. And I think that is the most important thing when you bring up children. I haven't always been able to be at home for my husband, but I happen to be very fortunate in having a very supportive husband. And I try to make up, to him since I stepped down in 2001, although he still complains that I spend a lot of my time outside of the family home. But I think by and large, I've managed to strike a balance. I think what is most important for women in my position, and one of these days you may find yourself in that position, is not to be too harsh on yourselves, not to expect that your 3 worlds will always be perfect. What you can hope for is an understanding husband, an understanding boss. But perhaps one piece of advice I can give you for the women in this, or for that matter, even the men, okay, is you have a choice in life. And your life is what you make of it. And to me, equality of the sexes mean just that. Means not being stereotyped into thinking that women are only good for certain things and men are only good for certain things. Women has a choice. You can choose to be a career woman and put your career first. That's perfectly okay. Or you can choose to be a full-time mother and a full-time wife. That's equally okay. In fact, it is sometimes much harder to be a good wife and a mother and not to have, as it were, the attractions and the glamour of having a very successful career. And the world badly needs good mothers and good wives. So it's up to you. You don't need to feel that choosing one role is inferior to choosing another role. That's not what equality of the sexes is all about. But the worst thing is to say, all right, I want to have a career, I also want to get married, I also want to have children, and then neglect some of the duties in being a mother and a wife. If you're going to do that, it's better that you just concentrate on your career and forget about marrying and forget about having children. But if you have children, you have a first duty to bring them up in the proper way, and not to feel that you can relegate all these responsibilities to the school and to the teacher. So it's just, fixing those priorities in your life, not taking yourself too seriously, not thinking that the whole world revolves around you. And sometimes if one or the other gets a bit out of kilter and a bit, messy, accept it. That's just, what life is all about. Okay? And finally, what is the other question?
How will you celebrate your birthday?
How will I celebrate my birthday? Well, a family gathering. As you know, I have a twin sister. So we're going to have a party that involves all our family members. I come from a very, very large family. So we're just going to have a meal together, have a chance, to meet. I treasure these family gatherings because, in Hong Kong, a lot of people lead very busy lives, whether you happen to be retired or not retired. And unless you make deliberate plans to get together with your family members from time to time, you can actually go for months on end without seeing each other. And I take a great deal of pleasure in meeting up with my relatives, meeting up with my sister and my brothers, and just talking about things that matters to us or talking about wider community issues. That's I think, one of the pleasures in life. So it's nothing very sexy, nothing very glamorous, but it's something that we all enjoy.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Any questions? 陳太你好，請你唔好介意我用中文。
好。
其實都係有兩條問想問你嘅。第一就係我哋會見到香港回歸之後啦，港人用好多佢哋自己嘅方法去表達佢哋嘅意見啦，無論係行落街度啊，或者係好似喺立法會裏邊要表達意見。咁我想問你自己覺得咧呢一啲即係有啲人就會覺得香港好亂啊，即係有佢哋要特登去揾一啲方法去表達意見，但係有啲人咧就會覺得其實呢個係一個轉變當中嘅一啲過程。其實你自己點睇而家香港嗰個即係港人去發聲呢個生態咧？係，
我覺得作為一個一個開放多元嘅社會咧，事實上咧係可以百花齊放。有唔同嘅聲音，唔同表達嘅方式。我又唔係覺得香港特別亂。事實上咧，我覺得呢幾年咧，好大程度上係因為政府有呢一個親疏有別嘅政策，而政府屢次咧都似乎俾市民一個感覺咧，就係唔歡迎意見。自己人講嗰啲嘢就啱，第二啲人如果有其他嘅意見咧，似乎唔係好願意去聽取。我希望我哋嘅領導人，無論係喺香港特區或者係喺中央嘅層面，係應該應該要胸襟要闊啲，係去鼓勵同埋聽取咧唔同嘅意見。因為唔同嘅意見先至可以令到我哋呢個社會